It's just a smell what the Verd is barbecuing.
G'day jabronis, it is the Verd back with you again. Welcome here to week 9 of the National Pokeball League. Tampa Frogadiers, we are currently 6-2 with a +9 differential up against Shardy and the Bayern Mewnich. They are 3-5 with, I think it's a -5 differential, something like that. It's quite low. Basically, a bit of backstory before this game, because it is very important to obviously what happens with everything, I suppose, and the way that this game was designed per se. So first and foremost, playoffs wise. Now this is going to be explaining a lot of games that have happened this week, so if you do not want spoilers, if I am the first person you are watching this week, then please skip ahead a little bit, watch all the other games that have happened, and then come back here, because I am going to explain it a fair bit, because I feel that it is important to understand how this is affecting my headspace going into this week. So, giving you the warning, if you don't want to know about this, turn off, don't turn off now, but go check out everybody else's, then come back to mine, okay? Because I want you to check out all the coaches that do great stuff. So basically, for those of you who stick around and you know the results, then you will know that at this point, I am actually locked in playoffs. I have secured playoffs because with my current differential the way that it is, and the fact that Jolt ended up losing to Razor, Jolt is sitting at 4-4. I believe 4-4. No, 4-5 at this point, which means that even if he wins his last game, then he'll go to 5 at best. If Shardy wins his 2 last games, he can't catch me on differential, which means no matter what happens in this game against Shardy, we are going to be in playoffs. So that's awesome. That's an awesome first thing to note, that no matter what happened in this game, we were going to be qualified for playoffs regardless. So that was the first bit of information, I suppose. The next bit was the fact that this match was really important because Shardy still has a chance to technically make it into playoffs if he beats me. Judging on the differential between him and Rob Jr., he would need to basically beat me at least 4-0, have Rob lose to Jolt in the last week, and then Shardy would have to win 6-0 in his last game against Cheese. So very unlikely, but still could happen, and he has the team to make it possible. Like I said, he's got Mega Kang plus Weavile, which is just terrifying, for sure. So there was that side, and then there's the stuff that's happening in the Premier Conference, where at the end of this week, every team but one still has a chance of making playoffs. That's just insane. That 7 of 8 teams still have a chance of making playoffs here. Kind of wild. Well, technically 8 of the 16 teams still have a chance of making playoffs. But regardless, the big aim for all of this was... Well, there were 2 kind of ways of looking at it. So for me, I had to look at it as a player and saying, well, I'd like to win, because if I win this game, the other thing it confirmed was, see, the thing with Gypsy and I, because we play each other next week, we wanted to give you guys the proper Verd versus Gypsy game for the semi-finals of the major season, because in our minds, I guess the way that we thought it out was that we both feel confident we can win finals matches when we play them, and then we play each other, and then we find out who is going to come out on top this season. And it was a really tricky thing to sort out then for what our match was going to be, because Cheese is currently 7-2, so is Gypsy. I'm currently 6-2 myself, so I haven't won yet. If I lose this game and I lose my next game against Gypsy, then Rob Jr., if he beats Joel, can go ahead of me. So that's a bit of a problem, because if theoretically I lose this game against Shardy, then lose the game against Gypsy, and I somehow go down to 4th, and then Gypsy will go top because of his differential, it means that I'll play Gypsy in the first round of playoffs. And I know it's a bit of a scumbag thing to want to design it in a way where we try and play each other in a semi-final, but at the same time, regardless of that in any sense, I think a meme game or not, the result still would have been the same way heading into the finals. Basically for Gypsy and I, we were just praying for certain results to go certain ways, because we knew that if they did, then our game would mean literally 0, so we could mean, and it gave us the best chance of not playing each other in playoffs, because then we could try and work our way to that semi-final clash, which I know it seems like a dick move, but you people want this. You know that you want that. So the team this week, as I kind of showed in the builder, the reason why it's a bit bulkier, a bit more defensive, is also because I like adding drama. I like adding drama to this. And the thing was, I knew that in order for Shardy to make playoffs, he needed to kill a lot of my mons, like a lot of them. So I designed my team in a bulky way so that it'd be harder for him to take out a lot of my mons, and I could kill his. Because the thing is, guys, fact of the matter, no matter what, if I killed 3 of Shardy's mons, that was it. He wouldn't be able to, like, even if he beat me, he would not be able to make the differential up against Rob Jr. or myself to make playoffs. So that's the kind of situation that he's in at this point. So that means that it feels bad saying it now, but at the time it was the right strategy, I feel, because it also meant it gave a lot of other people a chance. Relegation battle, it made everything more theatrical for the last week. So that was my mindset. But let's just go into the matchup, because I've been here 6 minutes rambling. I did warn you guys, I was going to explain at the start. But to summarize, what would happen was that loud noises in the background. Basically, what's going to happen is we made playoffs against Shardy. It didn't really matter as much to me. My aim was just to try and put on the best performance that I could. And looking at his team, it was pretty solid. I was really surprised to see no Nido Queen. I really thought Nido Queen would be there. Such a strong mon in the matchup. I also felt like maybe Gorgeist could have been there too. It's quite strong as well. But it is still a very intimidating team. I decided to lead off with Beedrill because in this matchup, since he doesn't have the Nido Queen, I can set up a free T-Spike turn 1. Not really too afraid of anything that he leads with, so I'm going to lead with Beedrill. He's actually going to lead with his Cobalion. I don't really care about this because he can't taunt me. I like speed. I get up my T-Spike, he gets a bit of rocks. He actually goes for Volt Switch. So this tells me though that he isn't Scarf, so that's nice to know at least. He goes into Scam. I'm just going to go for the U-turn to scout what he is, and he is Rocky Helmet, so that's fine because I get to go to my Hooper. And in this matchup, guys, as you can see from my opponent's team, he didn't bring Comfey either, so he doesn't really have a lot for Hooper at this point. I was really tempted to just go straight for the Dark Pulse against Scarm, but I thought if he went into Cobalion, it was just bad, and I didn't feel like he had any reason to keep Scarm in. Scarm is way too important for his team to be able to deal with things like the Mega B and potentially the Zygarde. So I felt he had to preserve that as much as possible, so I end up predicting him really nicely here into the Cobalion. I go for my Trick Room, and I'm lucky enough to connect with my Focus Blast, and it knocks out Cobalion. So that's one of 3 Pokemon that I had to get rid of to basically, I guess, ensure that Shardy doesn't make playoffs. I wasn't trying to ensure that he didn't make playoffs. It was more that was something that had to be kept track of because that was just something that was happening. And so that was kind of in my mind as the game was going on. But Scarm comes in. I was a bit confused by why he chose to go Scarm. I think potentially maybe going Seismitoad could have been smarter, or the other potential option was when he was in with Cobalion, he could have switched out to Latias, then back into Cobalion, tried to do some shenanigans in that sense, I suppose. But he chose just not to do that, I guess. It was hard for Shardy. We'd waited like a very long time to play this game. It'd been like over a week before we'd actually played this match. And I know he wasn't in the best headspace, which kind of sucked. But regardless, Skarmory's in here. At this point, I'm just looking at it and thinking like, okay, he could probably take a hit, but I'm doing enough damage with Dark Pulse to the point where he's not going to be able to roost that damage off and be able to 1v1 me. So he may go for the attacking move, but I have the defense investment to take it. He could go for Whirlwind, but in this situation, like, if he goes for Whirlwind and he's under Trick Room, then yes, he's going to be able to heal, but like, if he Whirlwinds out into my Rotom, then my Rotom can just go for a Willow and burn the Scarm, start wearing it down with Chip. If he goes out to Arcanine, I can prevent the Roost by just clicking Burn Up, meaning that he can't just freely click Roost on that turn. If I go into Beedrill, then I can predict the Roost and potentially go for Drill Run, or I can just get up a second layer of T-Spikes to destroy the Seismitoad, the Kangaskhan, and the Weavile. Because the thing is, like, if he Whirlwinds, Hooper's staying at like ridiculous amounts of HP, which means later on, Beedrill can just click U-turn again. If he goes into Scarm, I send in Hooper, I get more kills. And now, especially that Cobalion's dead, his Dark Pulse switch in is a Weavile, which is less than ideal. So I feel like regardless of what happened, it was in my favour, but I do get very lucky here in the sense that I get a Flinch on the Skarmory. Now, probably in his video, and I'll explain, the Flinch was huge. Like I said, it really depended on what I was well-winded out into. I think the only real 2 mons on my team that would have hampered is if... Well, actually, I don't even think it would have hampered them, because if I'd gone out to Nihilego, I just got my rocks for free. If he's running spikes on Skarm, he's not running defog, and he's not running defog on Ladi, because if you're running hazards, you're not running your removal. So I would have been able to get up free rocks with Nihilego. I could have killed him with Arcanine. I could have burned him with Rotom. I could have potentially just done a good chunk of damage with Beedrill with Drill Run, or I would have just got up my second layer of T-Spikes. And with Zygarde, I could have potentially gone for a Coil or a Dragon Tail or something similar to kind of deter the Skarmory a little bit. But like, I felt in that situation, it was more in my favor for me to go into something that could deal with the Skarm or take advantage of the situation. So I don't really know how much in the long run it mattered. It sucked for him though, because basically now his Skarm is dead. And that's 2 kills down, and he goes into his Kang, and it Mega Evolves, and I was worried here because it outsped, and then I realized it went for Fake Out, Sucker Punch, and I was able to connect with a second Focus Blast. I get pretty lucky with my Focus Blast, but then again, it's not really lucky, because people say, like, who hits 2 Focus Blasts? It's in my favor to hit them. I know they miss a lot, but it's in my favor to hit them. I guess it makes up for those Fire Spin misses against Joel, that Fire Spin miss against Joel, in some weird divine justice way. So that is the 3 mons down, which unfortunately meant at this point of the game, Shardy was not going to be in playoffs, which sucked because I like Shardy's a great friend. Like, it also sucked because I was in his front office and nobody else in his front office was helping him for this game. And like, if I was, you know, there and able to help, I would have helped him. And it was just really frustrating in that sense because I know that he was struggling and needed help, and nobody was really helping him out, and that was kind of shit. But it is what it is, and at this point, I was a little bit more in cruise control because I was looking at the matchup, and I'm like, okay, well, like, so many huge threats are gone here. Basically, at this point, it was my game to lose. I had one more turn, Psych, no more turn Trick him down. In this situation, funnily enough, as you can see there, Hooper has 61% HP, so I actually was running the math, and if he was a jolly-natured Weavile, then his knockoff was actually a roll in my favor to live. Now, looking back on the matchup, he was probably going to be Adamant Weavile just because he couldn't outspeed Beedrill regardless, and Adamant Weavile's speed creeps Jolly Kartana by a point. So I think it's safe to assume that he is probably Adamant, which means this roll would have been like ridiculously in his favor. But the fact that Hooper could have potentially taken it is pretty cool. He also could have been Black Glasses, I'm not really sure, but the knockoff happens, he does knock me out. But Hooper, to its credit, guys, has been in my team for 2 weeks. Just barely in mind. 2 weeks that I've had this Hooper unbound, and it has 5 kills in its 2 weeks it has played. It's an absolute monster, this thing, so it's definitely been putting in the work. But Weavile getting slowly chipped down. What I can just do here is go freely into my Beedrill, because if he is Scarfed, which I really doubt that he would be, but if he is, say, like, Adamant Scarf, then in this situation, what I'd be able to do is, like, even if Beedrill died, I could then just go into Arcanine. Since the T-Spike is up, I could just wear down the Seismitoad with Arcanine. I could wear down the Latias after poisoning it. Weavile can't beat the Arcanine, so if I had to, I could stall him out that way, but I had a feeling he wasn't Scarf Weavile. It didn't really make much sense in the matchup. He goes out to his Toad and use it. Now, the funny thing is, I knew this was an offensive Toad. It had to be offensive, only because I have 0 attack investment on my Beedrill. 0. So either he's like max HP, max Spadef, or he's running like some offensive variant, because with 0 attack investment, it should not be doing that little. That's kind of crazy. But regardless, I'm going to switch out to my Rotom. Reason being is because I can sub up on this thing. I'm running enough Spadef. He'd have to run knockoff to be able to break my sub, I think. So I had a sub for free as he goes for rocks, and I'm like, lol, sick meme. What I can do here as well is just drop a Protect, Psych, I go for Hex. I don't want to risk the potential. I mean, obviously he wouldn't know that I have Protect, but I didn't want to risk like any silly things happening. I just wanted to kill the Seismitoad, get off the field, because I am behind a sub. He can go out to Weavile if he wants to, but I can wear it down. I'm actually surprised he didn't go Weavile. I guess he was fearing the potential Will-O-Wisp play, which made a lot of sense, but at the same time, if you think about it, Weavile is poisoned, so what is Rotom really doing to it? But he goes Latias instead, and my play here is just taking the Psychic like a champion and going for Willow. Now this turn, this is a bit of a dick move, I suppose. I go for Protect, because I wanted to scout maybe if he was locked into a certain move, or if he was lefties, and I can see now from the burn damage that he is lefties. And he goes for a Psychic, does absolutely nothing, but he gets a Spadef drop, which was kind of shit. I wasn't a huge fan of that, as his Latias is weakened, but I know that his Latias now is not choiced, so all I want to know now is if the Weavile is choiced, because if it's not, then Nihilego can just come in after this and it's a snack wrap. So I go for a Hex again because either it's going to kill this or it's going to catch the Weavile coming in. And that's a very good chunk to the Weavile. I was pretty stoked with that damage. And Weavile's now in a very good range. I can basically win with Arcanine as well. I realise he goes for Pursuit, so I assume if he is locked into Pursuit, if I stay in, I have a chance to potentially live this because of my defense investment, but he does go for the knockoff. So that, though, confirms to me that he is not Scarfed, which means I can just go straight into my Nihilego. I also know that he is not Scarfed Latias, so I can just click Power Gem twice, get that waste boost, and Nihilego has 10 kills for the season. It's actually the leading kill mon because the last 2 weeks I have not brought Kartana. Just haven't liked the matchups, and against Gypsy, I mean, he has a Celesteela, guys, and a Tangrowth. It's going to be hard. But I won that game. Shadi was pretty upset afterwards. I think he was just complaining about the hacks and everything. Like, the Flinch sucks, guys, but looking at the matchup, I feel that it wouldn't have mattered as much depending on what I went out to. Even if I'd gone out to Nihilego or Beedrill, which were his two best case scenarios, I get up another layer of hazards. Like, his team would have been a lot easily, like, that Weavile would have been basically dead to badly poison. Would have really chipped down Seismitoad, would have chipped down Kang, and everything on his team just slowly getting whittled by that damage. And the fact that Hooper was still at full health meant that I could come back in against certain mons and get up my Trick Room again and just pressure him. So I feel that, yeah, it was really unfortunate I got the flinch, but I also just think that looking at matchup and what he had brought, he didn't really have a way to stop Hooper from setting up Trick Room again and just running through him. So it was a good game though, Shadi. Like, I know that you don't see it that way, but I mean, just one of those games. I flinched in with Dark Pulse. I got 2 Focus Blast hits, which is kind of wild, but you know what? That's just how it goes. All I can say is that Tampa Frogadiers are now 7-2. We got a plus 13 differential, which means we are 3 ahead of Cheese, which means in the last week, Cheese plays Shadi. If he wins by at least 3-0, then could be interesting. Or if he wins like 4-0, could be very interesting as to... Well, it doesn't really matter too much about seeding. It would only depend on if I beat Gypsy in a fun little match, whether I finish top seed. It's weird though. I'm probably going to talk to Gypsy about this game because the more I think about it, I don't know how smart the idea of a meme game is, just for the fact that, like, I back myself every week, guys. You know me, I'm the kind of player to back myself and just go for it. I'm very confident in my own ability, but Gypsy and I, for whatever reason, might not get a chance to play each other when it comes to the semi-finals. Like, some bullshit hacks might happen on either end from us, and one of us might get knocked out, and then we'll be just sitting there being like, well, I guess we'll never know then this season which one of them could have done it. So I may talk to Gypsy about it, because the match in retrospect doesn't mean that much, except for, I guess, a proper battle to see who would be number 1 overall. I mean, Cheese could still sneak through on differential, maybe, but that's only if I like, maybe narrowly beat Gypsy 1-0 and then Cheese beats Shadi like 4 or 5-0, which could happen. I don't know. I'm going to think about it a fair bit, but all I care about right now, guys, is the fact that I've made playoffs, which is great. Definitely locked and loaded in there. Playing Gypsy next week. I'm not sure how seriously we are going to take it. I'll keep you posted on that, because part of me does want to take it seriously, part of me doesn't. So we'll see what happens with that, but thank you guys for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Comment down below about how you feel about the team. Nihilego now is on 10 kills, Kartana has 9. I believe after that we have Zygar with 7 and Bulu with 5, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. So, like, spreading the kills around. I have nothing in the MVP leaderboard for this season. Just I've been spreading the kills around too much. I haven't really been focusing on one mon to do everything, and a lot of my games have been quite narrow wins, and that's fine by me, because at the end of the day, the MVP is cool, but I would much rather focus on actually getting the wins and getting into playoffs, which I have done. And I mean, if you told me at the start of the season that I was going to go 7-2 in 9 weeks, that's just crazy. And the fact that the 2 losses I've had, I felt, you know, I don't feel like I lost them because I mean, the Razor game, he just made one incredible play. Like, I can't fault that. He made one ridiculously good play that won in the game. I can't fault that. Those games happen. I've been in that situation before, trust me. I speed crept a freaking Umbreon to win my week 3 game, so it is what it is. But the Jolt game, I feel like definitely that was really unfortunate. If the Fire Spin hit, I think I would have got him. I think I would have beat him. Like, I know it's ancient history now. I guess the only kind of joke I can take from it is that he didn't make playoffs and I did, but that's not how I want to react. It's like, I'm pretty stoked, guys. Like, in all honesty, I'm pretty stoked, because at worst, I'm going to be going 7-3 with a +3, no, 7-3 with a +7 differential. That's the worst I can do for this season, and that's pretty great. It's been a wild ride for sure, but I've thoroughly enjoyed this season. And the match against Gypsy will be fun. I don't know what's going to happen with it. I'm just excited for it regardless. I'm excited for the climax of this season. I'm really keen to see, I guess, how it all finishes up, because especially, okay, if you haven't already, go check out all the people in the Premier Conference. So don't, obviously I know you love checking out my content, but next week their entire division is basically decided in 1 week of games. So you've got Riz, Trev, Abe, Maddie, Merc, David, does not count, sorry David, awkward, Mono, and Blake. They're the guys. Go check them all out, especially, obviously check out everybody, but check out those guys especially, because their games are freaking huge. Like, they literally decide who goes up and who potentially can go down. So yeah, definitely go check those out, guys. It's going to be pretty insane. I'm really excited for this. Hope you guys are too, but that's going to do it for me. I've rambled on for long enough. I did this video was like 7 minutes of battling and then 14 minutes of rambling, but regardless, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you have, then you know what to do. My name is Avert.